Welcome to the Devy Devotional Podcast, a show devoted to college prospect evaluation with a fantasy football focus. With your hosts, John Arrington, Aaron Wilcox, and Andy Starr. This podcast brings you actionable strategies and player-driven analysis for your Devy, C2C, and Dynasty leagues. Let's dive in.
Let's dive into duos. Welcome to the Devy Devotional, where we stay devoted to Devy. I'm your host, John Arrington, and tonight we're going to be diving back into Devy, and we're going to be talking about, or I guess technically, we're going to be drafting some college teammate duos, and we'll obviously get into that a little bit more and explain that more as we go on and as we do it. But basically, we're going to be diving back into Devy. We've been doing a lot of rookie talk over the past few weeks, past month or so, and I know somebody who was not overly excited about talking about the rookies anymore, so he was ready to talk about college football and Devy players, and that is Andy Starr. How you doing there, buddy?
Yeah, I'm doing well. I had to take a sabbatical last week for other reasons, but also I've had plenty of rookie content in my life for the past, 5 months now. So moving on beyond that, I'm sure we'll pepper in some stuff here and there, but yeah, this will be fun. I mean, you've seen Devy drafts, you've seen rookie drafts. I feel like this is the first time anyone's ever done a teammate draft of any sort like that. So, and we're going to throw in some roster constrictions to make it a little bit more challenging for the two of us. So I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, basically, was it you or was it Aaron that had posted, somebody did some kind of teammate draft, like it was like the best running back duos or something like that, right? And that kind of gave us the idea of like, hey, what if we just drafted the best teammates and figured out how to do that. We kind of did something similar last year where we drafted the best backfields, right? Like it was kind of similar.
Yeah, last year it was like positional groups. So we would take like the Alabama quarterbacks and the Clemson wide receivers. This year we're just going to do teammates, and you don't have to pick like two running backs. You could pick like a wide receiver or a running back on the same team. So, but you can go ahead and explain it a little bit further, or if you want me to, that's fine too. But yeah, go ahead.
No problem. All right, so basically, like I said, we're going to be drafting teammates, but we have to stick to roster positional limits. So we have one QB, two RBs, two wide receivers, a tight end, and then two flex spots. I believe that is correct.
Everything you said was correct, except that we will have two QBs. So
two
10
QBs.
players, 10 players total.
Oh, I should
Did
have
you
made
say
my
three
QB
wide
list
receivers?
bigger.
Let me just do
Okay,
it.
wait, so I said it completely wrong then. Okay, so two QBs. Why don't you say it? Because I went off the rails.
All right, two QBs, two running backs, three wide receivers, a tight end, which is going to be the challenging part, and two flex positions, which not super flex, so just wide receiver, running back, or tight end for those last two
Right.
spots.
Oh, man.
So 10 players total. So there's going to be 10 picks in the draft, and each pick we will be taking a pair of teammates. So once we get through all that, we'll have basically a starting lineup for a fantasy team, and then we'll let the masses decide whose team is better, I guess, at the end, which I'm sure will probably be me. But we'll know more at the end of the hour.
Right. Now, I mean, do you think the reason why we're doing this is because of NIL and the transfer portal and all that kind of stuff that we're starting to see, these new big teams? Like, before no one would have ever thought of Indiana, and then all of a sudden there was Elijah Surratt and Omar Cooper Jr., and Fernando Mendoza and all that kind of stuff. So you think we're starting to get these teams that are bringing in quality players, and so we're starting to see more teams with 3, 4, maybe even sometimes 5 quality players that we could be talking about?
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. Because obviously the blue blood programs, you're still going to hear those names called today, those teams, like the Ohio States, the Texases, the LSUs, But then, we're going to pepper in some other teams that, maybe haven't been considered Devy or, you know, pro pipeline powerhouses in the past decade. But now with this NIL, they kind of have a window. It's kind of like in the NFL now, like when a team sees their window, they start adding players. So there's a couple teams like that, who we'll probably touch on a few of them today. Uh, but there's definitely more than just those handful of teams that we've had in the past.
And now, just because we've been so focused on rookies, and you've been, hating life because of it and everything, um, tell me, how are you feeling about Devy? Let's get back into a little bit of Devy talk before we like dive into a fun draft and all that kind of stuff. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm excited about this draft. I think the listeners should be too. But let's just talk a little bit of Devy before we actually get into it.
I'm feeling fine about Debbie, honestly. I think this is a much, like, compared to where I was last year, um, feeling almost hopeless for the 2026 class, which ended up being true. I think 2027 is showing a lot of promise. And it's hard to really project too much further than that. Obviously, we do have the freshman seasons for the 2028 class, and there were some very promising places, especially the quarterback play in that class. Um, but there's still a lot of time between now and 2028 for them to either screw it all up or get even better. But overall, I think that Debbie is in a much better spot today than it was a year ago, as far as talent is concerned.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I feel like maybe the RBs aren't quite there, and I think we've talked about that in the recent shows, recent-ish shows, where we've said we've had a lot of misses, especially at the top of like recruiting cycles and things. A lot of your Taylor Tatum's and players like that just have not hit. People are still trying to make Nate Frazier a thing for some reason, and yet like that he's not a thing. He's not a very good running back, but he was once a highly sought after. Um, oh, sorry, my son just texted me. He was once a highly sought after running back, and as a freshman recruit and everything. So I think we're kind of missing the stud running backs that maybe we normally have at least one or two. Even though last year, we were looking at the 26 class and going, "Oh, this isn't great." We knew we had Jeremiah Love. Even if we didn't necessarily like think he was like the next Saquon Barkley or whoever, we knew that Jeremiah Love was above everyone else, and that was pretty obvious. Um, I don't know that we really have that right now, especially if you're just talking about the 27 class. In fact, I would even say that we definitely don't have that right now if we're just talking about the 27 class. So when you start talking about that, and then when you really talk about the QBs, last year, you and Aaron went through a pod. I want to go back and re-listen to it because I was saying how there was one QB in the class, and it wasn't even Fernando Mendoza. So I was wrong technically about who the QB was. Um, but I said there was basically one QB in the 2026 class, and you guys are like, no, 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 it could be Cade Klubnik, and it could be this, and it could be that, and whatever. And I'm like, okay, maybe. No, I'm not. I'm never falling for that trap again. It's not maybe. It's not could be. It's not any of that stuff. I mean, as we see it, Fernando Mendoza kind of came out of nowhere. I mean, there might be some people who are like, "Oh, I was always a fan and whatever," but I mean, he was really bad at Cal, and then he comes over to Indiana and he takes a pretty big step forward. But even then, we're sitting here going like he might be a QB1 in fantasy, like he a back end QB1. He's not going to knock your socks off. We're not thinking that he's all of a sudden Patrick Mahomes or whoever. So yeah, that's great. We got a guy that came out of nowhere, but that even if a guy comes out of nowhere this year, he's probably going to be a back end QB1 or something like that. It's not going to be all of a sudden some amazing QB. So I just think that that everyone's going to sit here and list like 15 QBs that could possibly be the guy, but there's really like three QBs that could possibly be the guy when it's all like if we're actually being honest with ourselves. And so I do kind of think that the 27 class is like better than 26, but we do have to pump the brakes a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I won't argue with that. QB is such a volatile position. Like, I feel like we haven't had like Drake May and Caleb Williams were like the last guys that I felt comfortable with going into their junior seasons. So it's been a while, and there still isn't a Drake May or Caleb Williams level prospect in this year's class either. So we're gonna have to wait at least a couple more years for that. I think there's potential with a few of these guys, but they're gonna have to step it up this year to make that sort of possibility that we see in 2028.
Absolutely. Now, have you done any supplemental drafts or anything like that yet in C2C? I know Aaron's already done one, but they always do it in like February or March or something. Have you done any of your drafts, or are you still waiting to do all
Nope,
that?
still haven't done any of them. I think a lot of people are waiting for all the freshmen to get added in and people to pay. Sometimes a
Yeah.
lot of these leagues still have orphans that need to be filled. But that's just the nature of Devy and C2C right now. Like
Yeah.
it seems like it's getting harder and harder to fill some of these teams, but yeah, we're getting there. I think at least the one Aaron's running that I'm in, it seems like we're about ready to lift off on that supplemental draft here shortly.
Nice. Yeah, the Devi draft that I do, we've never had like a set date. We just kind of vote on it every year, like when we want to do it. And I just got my first, hey, when are we doing the Devi draft? So we'll probably be doing that here pretty soon. I like doing mine a little earlier. I don't want to wait. Like I was listening to a podcast and they were talking about their rookie drafts, not a Devi draft, just a regular dynasty rookie draft and how they do it in August. I'm not trying to put down anyone and how they do their thing. I mean, if that's what you enjoy, that's what you enjoy. But I'm like, man, you're just trying to take so much out of the guessing game of this, like, by doing it in August with all the extra information you have. I'm like, trust your process, trust something, and actually like trust yourself to be able to make a draft pick, and that's what actually makes it fun. But once again, I'm not trying to put it down. If that's what you enjoy, then that's what you should do. But I just wanted a little bit of Debbie, little C2C talk before we dive into the draft here. How are we doing this? You came up with the idea, so I get 101. Is that right?
That works for me. I'm fine with either 101 or 102. I feel like those two are the most obvious picks, and then after
Yeah.
that, it's going to get really dicey.
Yeah, and honestly, I don't know. You wrote it that we were doing two QBs, but I guess I just read it in my head as one QB, and so I'm like, all right, well, I started making lists with like a QB and a running back, QB and a wide receiver. I'm like, I don't need that many QBs, and now I'm like, oh, I probably didn't write down enough.
No, you need them all.
Yeah, exactly. So, all right, so I'm up at the 101, and I mean, I guess technically I could try to strategize and do whatever, but I think I'm just going to go ahead and take my top guys. They're the top guys as far as like if you were talking about the top players at any position as far as teammates go. And that's going to be Arch Manning and Cam Coleman. For me, the thing is, I don't think you would have taken them because you don't like Cam Coleman, or at least not nearly as much as me. So I don't think you would have taken them. So I could have tried to play the game or something, but I didn't
I'll
want to
tell you
lose.
right now, I would have taken them if you didn't go that way,
Oh, okay. Well, that's
I would
good
have
to know.
got because I would have had two picks coming up, and like there's no way I couldn't have not taken them at that
Oh, are we
point. So,
snaking this?
um, sure. I mean, what do you think?
Uh,
We don't
I
have
guess
to.
if I guess if I got 101, we can snake it. I don't care.
All right, we don't have to, but all right, we will.
Yeah, no, that's fine. We can do it. So I took Arch Manning and Cam Coleman. The way I'm looking at it is I know people are still doubting Arch, but he really did take a pretty giant leap in the second half of the year last year. Maybe I really think it had a lot to do with who they were playing at the beginning of the season, and also the way that they were trying to play at the beginning of the season with the offensive line that they had and everything just did not make sense. They were trying to push the ball down the field and do a lot with it, and they didn't have time to do that. Arch was running for his life. Ended up being obviously pretty detrimental to him and the team and everything else. We see everyone calm down. They kind of start doing things closer to the line of scrimmage later on in the season, and then allowing Arch to make big plays, whether with his legs, with his arm, whatever. But you have to get the little plays going first, and then you can build on that. And that's what actually makes the difference between an Arch Manning who can do those kind of things versus like a Garrett Nussmeier or somebody like or Quinn Ewers or whoever that they don't have the ability to do the big plays after you give them the little plays. Well, Arch actually has that ability, and now we said going into last year that we were happy with his wide receiver core, and we were. I'm not trying to like act like like I never cared. I never thought that their receiving core was terrible or whatever. We were like, hey, Emmett Mosley, Ryan Wingo, like this is fine. But in the the truth of the matter is, it was not what we should have expected a team like Texas to have. Now you bring in Cam Coleman, and now you still have Ryan Wingo, you still have Emmett Mosley. That's how it should be. Emmett Mosley should be your 3, Wingo should be your 2. Cam Coleman should be your 1. Now I feel so much better about this wide receiver core. And I've loved Cam Coleman from day one. There was a lot of people that doubted him as a recruit, saying that he wasn't going to be athletic enough. I think every single thing that he's put on the field shows us that he's plenty athletic, as far as earning targets, separating, doing all that kind of stuff. Has not been a problem at all for him, and that's with really terrible quarterback play. So now give him a quarterback upgrade and everything else that goes along with it. And I'm very happy to have Arch Manning and Cam Coleman here. And like I said, I kind of thought I might have thought about playing the game, but I'm glad that you told me that you would have drafted them, and so I shouldn't have done it.
Yeah, even if we weren't snaking, I think I would have taken them just because like the two of them together as a you know as a duo is worth more than even one player. Because I think the only other group you would have taken is who I'm going to take here at 102, and that's Jeremiah Smith, wide receiver, Ohio State. And I kind of wavered on which teammate I want to take here, but I really like Bo Jackson, the running back, 1,000 yard season as a freshman. And like you said, the running backs in the 2027 class are kind of a little bit dicey. You got a couple of them that you might feel good about, but Bo Jackson, big time run rates there, 1,000 yard freshman season. He can catch the ball. Um, if he's not your Devy running back 1, he's very close to it. So, and then if Jeremiah Smith, he's a beast. Everyone knows about him. He's the consensus 101 in Devy for most people, I would say. So that just seems like the obvious selection for me at 102. I don't think we need to spend too much time on that pick. Like everyone, we know who Jeremiah Smith is at that point in time. I know that you're a little bit lower on Bo Jackson than maybe I am, but I still think that you probably think he's decent. Like he's better than the plotters in the 2027 class.
Well, this is where you were saying that, hey, like there's going to be some strategy involved, and there definitely is here, because you could have easily gone with a couple other players that we won't mention here, even though they're pretty obvious. But you could have gone in multiple directions here with who you brought along with Jeremiah Smith. Obviously, Jeremiah Smith was always the pick, but then who do you bring along with them? And I I don't love Bo Jackson, but he is on my list for to be able to pick here, just because once again, there's only so many teams that even have viable teammates and things like that. You had mentioned like mostly tight ends and stuff, but you had mentioned like a couple tight ends before we got started that you're like, hey, I really love this player, but I mean it's Iowa, like
Right.
who am I going to draft with them and that kind of thing. So you have to play the game because there's great players on certain teams, but that doesn't mean that every team has a duo or trio or anything like that that you can draft from. So I like it, and I think it'll probably make sense when it's all said and done, as far as your team and everything like that. Once again, I think that the running backs are kind of where we're lacking right now. So going running back early is probably a smart decision. But you also have another pick, so you can go running back heavy if you wanted to.
Yeah, I'm not going to do that. This one, I feel like I need to lock up a QB right now before I get too deep in the woods, even though you can only take one more. And I went back and forth because Ah, there's two good ones, obviously, but I'm gonna go with the teammate. The tiebreaker here is the teammate that I like better. So I'm gonna take Alabama quarterback Keelan Russell, and then
No.
I'm gonna grab wide receiver Ryan Coleman Williams. And I the thing is like the other QB I was gonna draft here, I think is probably safer and just as good. But Keelan Russell, obviously, all the upside in the world. We just haven't seen anything yet. Ryan Coleman Williams obviously had a down year last year, battling some injury stuff, battling some. People will say he has a dropping issue, but we obviously know that that's not transferable season to season, so that doesn't concern me as much. I'm assuming everyone's healthy. Everything that I've heard from spring is that these two have a great connection. I think it's going to be wheels up for them, and both of these guys are going to be uh, Devy viable. Obviously, Ryan Coleman Williams in the 2027 class, should he decide to come out. And then if Keelan Russell is everything that we think he is, he should be one of those QBs that is getting hyped in the 2028 class.
I I don't want to say this as like I'm putting you down or anything like that. I just never thought in a million years you were going to take Keelan Russell and Ryan Williams. I put a little I made my list and at the bottom I put sleeper list Keelan Russell and Ryan Williams because I just did not think you were going to take Keelan Russell. I don't know why. That was just I mean I guess just because you're not as big into the freshman. He technically hasn't like seen the field yet and everything even though obviously he's a sophomore now, but um I don't know. I really didn't think it when you said Alabama. I was like, no, there's no way.
Yeah, I mean, it is hard for me to like put stock in these quarterbacks that haven't done anything, but I'll be honest, like those beat writers and the whoever's doing the spring reports,
Oh
they
yeah.
got me hyped up, man. So I'm buying in right now. We'll see if they're wrong. Obviously, those guys are paid to kind of fluff the Alabama roster as much as they can, but it sounds like it's gonna be good. So I'm down for it right now. I'm a believer.
All right. Well, man, I was not expecting that one, but I like the pick. I really do. Like you said, I'm if it's just the beat writers or whatever, I was already Keelan Russell was my or my QB1 in last year's class, so I was already extremely excited about him. And then now you start hyping, the hype that he's getting with the beat writers and everything, what he did in the spring game, and then I don't look at Ryan Williams' drop rate. I don't care about that. So like I still believe Ryan Williams is a very quality player. That's the other thing is like we tend to be so different from consensus and all that kind of stuff that like if this was a consensus draft, you might not hear Ryan Williams name until wide receiver 10 or something like that. So that's why I was kind of like, oh, these might be sleepers, but then I forgot that you're my co-host and there's a reason for that. So I should have made it so we weren't snaking, so you
Yep.
couldn't snipe me like that, but I didn't.
That's all right. I think I left you some meat on the bone there. I mean, you got two picks coming up here, so there's a lot of options for you if you want to fill up that last QB spot, or I don't know. You could go any way. The world is your oyster, really. You could take whoever you wanted.
See, now I'm trying to figure out because what happens is we do these drafts and then we put stuff out there and I tend to be pretty far off from consensus one way or the other. And then we say, hey, vote on this. And then people go, oh, well, not John because his list is crazy. So I'm like, do I want to pander to the listeners? Do I want to pander to the voters here and take some players that I don't necessarily love, but I know everyone loves? Or do I want to take my players that, and be real to myself?
I know exactly the people you're thinking about right now.
Dude.
I think so. Uh, but I'll be. I think you should do what you think is right in your heart. I think that's what that'll help you sleep tonight. Honestly.
Oh, I don't think we talked about this. Are we allowed to draft more than one duo from the same
Yeah,
team?
yeah.
Okay.
Like if you want to go back to Texas right now, go for it.
Okay.
It's
I
got
forgot
they
to
just have
yeah.
to be on the same team.
Okay. Okay. Cool. Oh man. All right. I think I'm gonna play a little bit of the game here, and I think I'm gonna pander to the listeners and pander to the Devy crowd right now. And I'm going to take Jamari Johnson and Decorian Moore. And I got a face. I got a face from Andy. I don't know if he's hating it, loving it, or whatever. But I wanted to get Jamari Johnson, at least in this exercise, is my tight end one. So I wanted to take him, and people love Decorian Moore. I mean, he's the wide receiver 4 consensus wise on DLF. I have him substantially lower than anyone else there. In fact, I have him at 25 overall for Devy players, and then everyone else has him at 6, 11, 12, 12, 12. So that just shows you how much lower I am than consensus. But I mean, I could be proven wrong. He's still young. Obviously, had an injury and everything. It might just be my hatred for Dante Moore more than anything else. But I, once again, I don't hate the player. I just don't know that I like truly believe in him. And his numbers don't really like completely stand out as anything that I should be like overly excited about. But he was obviously a highly sought after recruit, like the wide receiver one in his class by far. And and like I said, people are still ranking him up here at wide receiver 1 to 4, 1 to 5, or whatever in Devy. And then Jamari Johnson, look look at what Kenyon Sadiq has done as far as talent and everything else, being drafted in the first round, what 16th overall, 18th overall, whatever it was, and then just think about the fact that Jamari Johnson's better than him, and that's really all you have to know.
Yeah, I think Jamari Johnson is definitely. I like the pick for this draft. Like the out of the tight ends available, he is like the tight end one for 2027. The only other guy that I would want to talk about is the Iowa guy we kind of alluded to earlier, DJ Vonami or Vonami, however you say it. Um, but he doesn't have a teammate worth
Right.
anything, so there's
Now
no
you
way
made
that.
a face. Was it I trust
Well,
some of your guys'
no,
face,
you
or
know
was it
what?
like
I
you weren't
actually
ready for
liked.
it?
I think I like Decorian more better than you do, obviously. I think he had a fine freshman season, got hurt there towards the end. Uh, so I like Decorian more. I don't have anything negative really to say about him. I think he'll be fine. So I was kind of surprised, I think, at him being who you took, given the other players on that team, especially the ones in
Well,
the backfield.
I mean, obviously we're snaking, so I guess I didn't have to take them right there. I could have taken them with my next pick, but I
Yeah.
wanted to get my tight end out of the way because I feel like there's only so many tight ends with quality teammates. So I just wanted to go ahead and get my tight end out of the way. And I was like, you know what? I'm also going to pander a little bit with Corey Moore because I'm not, look, I have him. He's my wide receiver. He's my Devy wide receiver 13 overall. This is not me hating him. This is
Right.
not me saying he's terrible or anything like that. But when people are like, he's my wide receiver 2 or 1 or whatever, no one's saying 1. He's my wide receiver 2 or 3 or 4. I go, okay, that's a little crazy because he hasn't really done enough for me to say he's anywhere close to that. Um, you know, when you're comparing him to guys like Jeremiah Smith, Cam Coleman, Ryan Williams, like anyone in that level, T.J. Moore, Bryant Wesco, there's no one like his numbers just don't even match up at all. Even if you're talking about market share, the lowest out of any of the top guys, 14% market share. Compared to the rest of my top 12 or ish or whatever, 15, 18, 33, 24, 27, 26, 36, 27, so on and so forth. Like those are the guys that I'm falling in love with, not the guy with the 14% market share. And yeah, he missed some games and everything, but he obviously played the majority of the season as well. So once again, don't hate him, don't love him, but a little bit of a strategery here. And so I went with Jamari Johnson and Decorian Moore. I'm actually wondering who you were thinking. You can tell me after my next pick, but because you said you thought you knew who I was going.
Hmm.
So I'll be interested to hear. Oh, Ooh, I think I know who you're thinking now, and now I'm trying to
Yeah.
figure out if I need to take them.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I
Oh,
think we're on the
see,
same page now.
yeah, I think we are too. So this, do I really want to pander to the audience? Is the
I
real
know this
question.
one. If you
Yeah.
don't do it, I'm gonna do it. So
I mean, it is on my list, so maybe I should just go ahead and do it. Oh man, but I think, oh, okay, yeah. I think I honestly, I think if I let you take it, I think I give you the win. I think I give you the dub. So I got to take it. I'm going Darian Mensah and Malachi Tony. Yeah, we got on the same
yeah.
page there at the end. That one was a little obvious almost.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's definitely pandering for us because I think most of the listeners know that we're not nearly as high on Malachi Tony as everybody else seems to be, which isn't to say he couldn't be great, but from what we saw in the freshman season, he needs to get a little more route versatility, which can happen. And I think Darian Mensah is actually going to be beneficial for that. But yeah, I mean, you can go ahead and hype up Mensah. That's obviously the QB that I think
well,
is that third one in the class that maybe people are going to be thinking about as a first round pick next year.
yeah, and I have Tony substantially lower than Decorian Moore. So like, if I was saying I'm not the biggest DK Moore fan, I can only talk about how much I do not love Malachi Tony. But there are signs of hope. There are glimmers of hope. Obviously, he's an athletic specimen, yak monster, that kind of thing. But we can also say Carson Beck was a dink and dunk specialist, and that maybe it wasn't. A lot of times, I would even say most of the time, you have players who earn their A dot. People trying to say that Zachariah Branch would have been different in a different scheme, and Georgia made him do all those screen routes and everything. Okay, the dude had a 6 A dot 2 years prior at USC. So you're telling me that he wasn't a screen merchant then, even though his A dot was at a 6? It was like 6.3 and 6.0 his 2 years prior. So like players earn their A dots for the most part, but with Tony, it's it's not that it's not as or no, it's actually really low. It's 6.1. Okay, so that's really low. I was gonna say it's not as low as it is, but no. Okay, yeah, he's just really bad. No, I so I want to give him the benefit of the doubt with Carson Beck. Now I'm not bumping him up to wide receiver 1 or 5 or anything like that because of it. I think he has a lot to change, but we just saw Casey Concepcion kind of do something similar in his third year, go from someone who we essentially were kind of writing off to a player that we said, "Hey, this is actually somebody I would draft if he didn't go to the Browns." And unfortunately went to the Browns. So I think I want to give Tony the benefit of the doubt. He was obviously a freshman. He has plenty of time to grow. This is not Zachariah Branch as a senior or as a junior. I'm sorry, trying to change and do whatever. That kind of player I'm not giving anything to, but a freshman I will give him a little bit of hope. And we love Darian Mensah. I think he should have come out in this draft class, and I was kind of mad that he didn't because I mean just think about how much better this draft class could have been with one more viable QB. At the very least, there would have been people fighting for that 103, 104, 105 spot, whatever, instead of everyone trying to trade out and get to get to a different spot of the draft and whatever else. So Minso's numbers, as far as compared to a lot of these other QBs, are are one of the few QBs besides Arch that actually meet the thresholds that I'm looking for. Pushing the ball down the field, intended air yards, big time throw rate, things like that. And that's what Andy was just saying is we love Mensa, so hey, this could actually elevate Malachi Tony. So I'm excited for Tony and what that can mean and everything. I'm hopeful that it can all work out for Mensa and Tony. But I think once again I'm pandering this time. I need the dub, so I'm doing this for the dub.
Hey, I can respect the hustle. I'm thinking about pandering later on too, but I don't think I will. I'm going to stand on my values towards the end. But I don't have to pick my QB or my tight end anymore because you were filled on both of those. What you aren't filled on is running backs. So I'm going to take the best duo left, and I'm going to go back to Oregon and go with the freshmen or sophomores now, Jordan Davison and De'Aaron Hill Jr., which will fill up my starting running backs and one of my flexes. Um, really, I mean, I like both of these guys. I actually like De'Aaron Hill a little bit more. I know that that's not how people view it from a Devy standpoint, but I think his big playability kind of elevates him above Jordan Davison. I know Davison's fine, like he's great too, but I think De'Aaron Hill is just more reliable in being someone that's gonna bust an 80-yard touchdown and maybe even a better receiver. But between both of them, I really don't have anything negative to say. Um, De'Aaron Hill's a little bit on the smaller side, but not so small to where you're like concerned about it. He's right around that 200-pound mark where you know that's kind of what the NFL running back is kind of looking like these days, anyhow. So I like both of those guys here, and then it kind of puts you in a quandary with your running back positions, which is an added bonus.
It
I don't know. What do you think
does.
about Hill and Jordan Davison?
Okay, so before I had the epiphany of Darian Mintz and Malachi Tony, that's who I was going. Literally, that duo is who I was going. So this is an amazing pick. Um, I I was just hopeful. I played the game. I was hopeful that you weren't going to take them, or you were going to take one, or whatever, and you didn't. I just I felt once again. I felt like if I gave you Malachi Tony, that you were winning the draft because you would have Jeremiah Smith and Malachi Tony, and that's just too much firepower in a Debbie draft that people are going to vote on way too much. And so I felt like I had to take it. And the thing is, like, people don't even care about Darian Mensa, so I'm not even going to get points for that one. Like, people probably knock me for having Darian Mensa, but they love Malachi Tony so much that they'll make up for it. But Jordan Davison and De'Ara Hill are not only the two highest ranked teammates that I have as far as running backs, but they're two of the highest ranked running backs I have in general. It doesn't even matter that they're teammates. So they were both. It's actually unbelievable how similar their numbers were last year. And you were saying like you like De'Ara Hill more. A lot of people obviously lean Davison for the size and everything. But the truth of the matter is they both bring a good aspect to the game. And I was definitely more Jordan Davison to begin, like, in the beginning and everything. But the more and more I look at De'Ara Hill, like, I cannot discount him at all in what he's done. Um, the only thing you can really say about him is that Jordan Davison got hurt at the end of the year, and it didn't end up being more touches for De'Ara Hill. It ended up being more touches for Noah Whittington. And so that's a little concerning that maybe I mean, I think when it was all said and done, Jordan Davison ended up with 100 carries on the year, and De'Ara Hill had like 75. And, but I think Jordan Davison had 100 going into like week 10 or whatever, whenever he got hurt, or whenever it was. It might have been later than that. And then obviously he didn't run anymore, but De'Ara Hill didn't like all of a sudden get a bunch of touches after that. And so do they truly believe in him? Were they just saving him because like they knew Whittington was doing enough and it was going to be fine, and they didn't want to trust a freshman running back that's 195 pounds or whatever out there? I don't know. That's just saying in the back of my mind, I do hold that. But once again, I was going to take this duo right, right before I made the switch to Malachi Tony. So not hating on the picks at all.
Yeah, I mean, I think that was an obvious one for me. Um, all right, I do need to make my quarterback selection here, I think. So the pandering selection, well, I don't know, because I feel like the guy that I'm going to end up taking is actually probably viewed higher than Bryce Underwood, who I'm considering. Um, but I'm going to go with JKS, Duran Saga Pulatele. I think I said that correctly. Um,
Better than
and
most.
then And then I'm gonna take Ian Strong, who transferred to Cal from Rutgers last year. The reason I say that this one might also be pandering is because I think he's around QB1 for a lot of people, if it's not Bryce Underwood. But I don't think either of them have done. I definitely don't think Bryce Underwood's done enough to warrant that rate ranking. At least JKS, passed for 3,500 yards and in a pretty awful surrounding supporting cast. Like Jacob DeJesus was his leading receiver, I want to say. And if you don't know who Jacob DeJesus is, you're not the only one. Um, so I feel like JKS is he's improved in bringing that whole Cal program up. Like people, it's a destination now because he's there. That's why Ian Strong's coming in and some of these other players. Uh, so I think that JKS might be better than his numbers are showing us. Whereas like with Bryce Underwood, the team didn't really get better around him. You could say, JJ Buchanan came in, but I don't think he's as strong of a player as Ian Strong. That they're still just going to want to run the ball there in Michigan. I know they have a new coach and they might switch things up a little bit, but yeah, if I was going to go that route, I probably would have taken Andrew Marsh as my wide receiver there. But between him and Ian Strong, I don't view them too differently. And Ian Strong's a little bit closer to the NFL, which obviously helps in Devy. So it was a tough call, maybe a little bit pandering. I certainly don't view either of these guys as high as consensus, but I do think JKS is probably the least likely to be a mirage, and he might actually be good this year.
I like it. It was Ian Strong, right? That was the pick.
Yeah,
Okay, I'm just making sure. I didn't think there was anyone else at Cal that really mattered. So
no, that was the hard part about taking JKS. It's like, all right, who else is at Cal? But my boy Ian Strong's there, so that made the pick even easier for me. Um,
another
but
player that we were like, hey, why didn't he come out? I mean, I guess he wants to go prove that he can be better with a potentially better team and everything. But just another player that we're like, hey, come out in this class that is a kind of a down class, and that would have been another fun one. Even if he ended up a second round pick or something, that would have been a guy that we were clamoring to get, and yet he's in the 27 class. So we just have to hope he takes a step forward. JKS, I mean, people love him, especially our best friend Felix Sharp. Absolutely loves him. Thinks that he's the greatest thing since sliced bread. But the truth of the matter is an 8.8 intended air yards. He is not pushing the ball down the field. Maybe you can say that's who he's been playing with. Once again, I think you know you generally see intended air yards, ADOT, all that kind of stuff. You generally see what a player wants to be, even if they don't have the pieces around them. Now his big time throw rate is at 5.5%. That's right where I want it to be, but that's when you combine it with a quality intended air yards. He's still a young player. He can obviously get better. He's in my top 10 of QBs, so like I'm not truly hating on him. I just don't I don't see it as far as like top five just yet. He would have to take a pretty major step forward for me to say, oh yeah, this is the guy. This is the next big guy or whatever. Especially at Cal. But I do really like Ian Strong, so I like that. And people love JKS as far as pandering. So I think you're gonna get some good pandering votes there. Um, and you know what? I don't know. Like I said, I think is it my pick? Yeah, right.
yeah,
You
just
did
I don't
you
know
did
if
your two.
are you following along because I have that you have two running back spots and two flex spots open.
Yes. This is a problem. So, yeah, you're loving life over here, and I'm hating it. I I should have gone. I should have gone Davison and De'Ara Hill. I mean, it was just too easy. But I really feel like if I'd given you Tony, that was giving you the dub. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna throw a little curveball here. I'm going to take a duo which one of the players is in the news. very recently in the news. In fact, as far as today, he is the RB1 for DLF consensus rankings, Devy rankings. His teammate counterpart is not nearly as well known, but he is getting a lot of press, a lot of a lot of spring press, a lot of off-season press, and everything like that. I'm going Mizzou running back Ahmad Hardy, who just got shot, um, and his wide receiver teammate Donovan Oligbode, who once again has not done a lot, but if you go search up anything about him and how hard the team fought to keep him, they thought he was going to be in the transfer portal, going to one of these major destinations and everything. They fought so hard to keep him, and they truly believe he is like the next big thing. And so I am like, technically this is not the duo that I necessarily wanted to go with, but I kind of have to play the game here because I need some quality running backs, and you took the two of the best teammates for sure, and so I'm playing a little bit of the game here, and I'm going with the duo. But I'll tell you what, Oleg Bode, while he has not done anything like overly amazing just yet, the numbers do actually look pretty solid, for a small sample. And then obviously we know Ahmad Hardy, sans being shot when he is not riddled with holes, he's a very very good running back. I'm not trying to joke about it. Like, they said he's stable. He got released from the hospital. Like, I would never joke about someone being shot or anything like that. But it sounds like everything's just fine. So I'm making a little bit light of the situation.
Yeah, very, very poor taste, honestly. Um, I thought you were going to go running back there. I thought you were thinking Jamal Roberts, who I also kind of like as like a little bit of a sleeper, just because he's got a little bit more of the receiving profile than Ahmad Hardy. Big time run rate still there. He's obviously a senior, or redshirt junior, whatever you want to call it at this point. But I think he had almost 800 yards rushing last year, so he might have been a decent pick too. But I like Alec Bode as well, so I'm not going to like dog you for that pick, because when you're looking at the freshman wide receivers last year, he's in there. Like, he's one of the guys that was doing something for a Power Four program. He was over 300 yards. At one point, his yards per route run was looking good. It still looks good. I don't really care as much about yards per route run from the freshman season. All I really care about is you're getting like a halfway decent market share. Anything above like 10% is good for a true freshman in a Power Four program like that. So I like the pick for Alec Bode, and you're right. We're getting kind of down to the nitty gritty, and that was the nature of this draft. We kind of have to make some weird picks from time to time. Um, but it'll be interesting to see who you go with here, because I'm looking at the running backs, and there's not many that I'm feeling like super good about. But
Yeah.
maybe you got somebody else in the chamber there that I'm not really thinking about right now.
Yeah, I think I might. Um, all right, I might pivot here. I kind of had a name, or had a duo, and I don't like. I kind of want to play the game, but the last time I played the game, you made me pay for it, so maybe I don't want to play the game. I don't know. Um, Screw it. I'm just gonna do it. I'm gonna take. All right, hold on. Let me do some math here. So I need one more running back and two flexes. Is that right?
Just one running back, one flex. So this is your last pick.
One running back, one flex.
So
Oh,
it could be running back and a wide receiver, or how flex works. This isn't your first rodeo.
oh, no, no, no. Okay, yeah. See, I don't know why I was thinking I had two picks left. Okay, well then that changes everything. Um, well, I have to go running back. So, oh man, hold on one second. Live tilt on the podcast. I just want to check something real quick. Uh, yeah,
I can't.
I'm def.
Yeah, you really boxed yourself in here.
I did. All right, but I got it. I got it. I got it. I got it. Got it. Okay. I'm going. I didn't even write my last names. That's how much I was tilting. Is I didn't even write my last names here on the little like orange thing. I'm going Savion Hitter and Andrew Marsh for my final picks, and I feel pretty good about that. I think I saved it when it was all said and done. I had a running back duo that I wanted to go, and I just don't think when you're done, we can talk about it. But there's a running back duo that I really wanted to go with, but I don't think it's going to get as much love in the voting streets as Andrew Marsh and Savion Hitter will. In fact, I would say it would be substantially less love from the voters than Savion Hitter and Andrew Marsh. So I don't, I really don't love the Michigan offense. It's been terrible. Obviously, there's a lot changing, coaches and all that kind of stuff. I don't think Bryce Underwood's a very good quarterback, but that and he might not even be the quarterback. So who knows? Maybe it'll be Tommy Carr or TJ Carr, Tommy Carr, whatever the hell his name is,
Tommy
and
God.
but we Savion Hitter is one of the best running backs in this class. At the very least, he is a top two running back in this class. And we know that Michigan runs the hell out of the ball. So as far as that is concerned, I'm very excited about that one. And then Andrew Marsh already proved, what that he's at least belongs in the mix of top players, and that was with Bryce Underwood, the same QB that I'm saying, is not all that spectacular. So I don't like I if anything, it should get better for him this year. Things should get better for him at least slightly this year. But he kind of showed out in a Michigan-y way, and like he had a 27% market share. So when you fall back on things, you say, hey, a lot of things were bad, QB play, all that kind of stuff. I tend to revert back to the market share and say, okay, but was he earning targets? Was he earning, yardage? Was he earning this? Was he earning that? And I think we can say Andrew Marsh is definitely doing that. So I don't know. I was almost even downplaying it because I dislike Bryce Underwood a lot, but I actually like Andrew Marsh quite a bit.
Yeah, I think that was honestly one of your best picks in this draft. And you it was kind of unfortunate what happened with your running backs there. I put you on tilt and made you draft Malachi Tony against your will. But it is what it is. I think Andrew Marsh probably get is one of the more underrated receivers in Devy right now, because of what he did with Bryce Underwood. If you look at the raw stats, everyone's like, yeah, it doesn't look that great. But he was the passing offense for that team. Like if you're looking from a market share standpoint, this is the guy. Um, so as a true freshman, nonetheless. So I think Marsh probably is, like I said, one of the more underrated, if not the most underrated, and he's still like probably a top 20 receiver for most people. But I would argue that he's much higher than that even. So I love that pick. Your team actually looks pretty good, honestly. If the only one that sticks out is the Donovan Oligbode pick, uh, but it is what it is. You had to pair somebody with Ahmad Hardy there to fill up those running back spots. But that leaves me with my last pick, and I can't draft DJ Vonami or Vonami at tight end because there's literally nobody else there for me to take. Um, so I'm gonna get back on the pandering train a little bit and take who most I think are considering the tight end one in the 2027 class, and that's Trey Green from LSU. I think he took a little bit. He obviously improved his yardage last year, but it still wasn't quite what I wanted to see from like somebody who I would consider to be a first round tight end talent. Even though I know that that's where he's getting mocked at right now, and that's probably where he'll end up going because that's just what happens with these freak athletic tight ends. He's like 6'7", 240. Probably he's going to run like a 4.5 40. So he's going to probably be a first round draft pick. Whether or not that translates to anything in the NFL, I'm not confident in just yet. But it seems like he will definitely have a chance to do something. And then for my flex spot, just give me Jace Brown, guy that I've loved forever. Over over at Kansas State. Now he's going to LSU. Pass happy offense with Lane Kiffin coming over. I think it's going to be a good season for him, and I think he, first round wide receiver is still well within his range of possibilities. And I'm looking at my team, and I mean, the QBs are dice rolls, right? They could crash and burn this year and be done. Whereas like year QBs, I feel like they're cemented. They're going to be fine. They're going to be high draft picks next year. Mine, they need to do something this year to warrant the Devy ranking that they have right now. So it remains to be seen. I'm confident. I'm happy with every other pick that I made though.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we're picking some of the best players in college football, so and we should like our teams. This shouldn't be some big thing. We're like, oh man, I hate this squad. But what was your team again? Because do you have a Donovan Olagbude that you're like, well, I had to play the game a little bit, or did you make it out a little bit better?
I think I made it out a little bit better. So I'll run down my lineup here. QBs, I have Keelan Russell and JKS. Running backs, Bo Jackson, Jordan Davison. Receivers, Jeremiah Smith, Ryan Coleman Williams, and Ian Strong. Tight end, Trey'Dez Green, and then my flex, De'Aaron Hill and Jace Brown.
I think Ian Strong is your Olagbode. I mean, this is not me. This once again, I am a
Right.
very big Ian Strong fan. But like, if we were saying,
Yeah,
who
that's
are
definitely the
people
weak
going to
link.
be like? Who? What?
Yeah.
It's going to be
No, you're
Ian
right.
Strong.
He's like the guy that could very easily be like a 6th round pick next year.
He could be, but man, I guess I have higher hopes for him than
Well, I
that for
know,
sure.
and I do too.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, and then I have Arch Manning, Darian Mensah, which you were saying my QBs are cemented. I agree with you. I just don't think that Mensah gets enough love from the community, and so I don't know if the votes are going to go that way. But obviously, they will for my wide receivers. Cam Coleman, Decory Moore, Malachi Tony. Thank God I at least took one of my actual favorite wide receivers in Cam Coleman, so I can feel a little true to myself. But Decory Moore, Malachi Tony, those are going to get some votes. And I mean, I think just about everyone's on board with Cam Coleman. I mean, I'm looking at DLF rankings. 2-2-3, 2-2-3 as far as like how everyone has him ranked overall in Devy. So I would say pretty much most people are on board with Cam Coleman at this point. You even admitted, and you've pretty much made yourself a Cam Coleman hater, and you've even admitted that you would have taken him at 101, 102, whatever. So gotta love that. My running backs, I had to kind of play the game with because I wanted to end up with high end running backs, but that made this game in particular a little more difficult. But I ended up with really high end running backs with Ahmad Hardy and Savion Hitter, so I'm excited about that. And Jamar Johnson, I don't know if Jamar Johnson's a big enough household name yet to where people are really going to fall in love with them and be like, oh man, he got the tight end one. I don't know if that's going to work or not. Maybe I didn't need to play the game when it was all said and done with the tight end. But I did. And I do believe, at least in this class and in this game especially, he was the tight end one. Once, you can't take the guy from Iowa. You can't take the guy from what was the Chudzinski guy, like Houston or
yeah,
something? I don't
Boston
know.
College. I
Yeah,
mean,
Boston College. Yeah.
you would have had to like take like a guy who hasn't done anything yet. Like, there's nobody really at Oklahoma for that freshman that you would really want to pair with him either. So, I
Right.
mean, I was thinking I might have taken Mason Minnie or Dorian Thomas with JKS, but I don't really like either of them either. So yeah, there's not a lot with tight ends. Lincoln Kier hasn't done anything, and he plays at Kansas State with nobody. So yeah, I think you had to either go Jamari Johnson or Trey Green here. Um, I don't have the list of tight ends in front of me right now that I was looking at, but those were like the two no-brainers, I feel like, for that position.
Yeah, and then I guess I forgot to write down. I'm trying to figure out who my last player was. I have Donovan Oligbode and then
Andrew Marsh.
Andrew Marsh. That's it. Thank you.
Yeah.
And so I mean, Oligbode is not going to get any votes. But once again, we both agreed that I think he's a quality young player who hasn't done unproven player, but player that we're excited about nonetheless. And then Andrew Marsh is actually a player who's probably one of the most underrated wide receivers in college football. That doesn't necessarily mean votes, unfortunately, but I'm still pretty damn happy with the team. Once again, we probably should be happy with the teams, but there were some players that I had to. And Trey Green and Jace Brown were my other tight end duo, or tight end and wide receiver duo. So you obviously got that one right. I had it written down for the little orange box before you even said anything. You said, "Oh, I'm going to go tight end here." And I wrote Trey Green and Jace Brown, so I knew exactly what was happening there. But I really wanted to go with the duo of Bryant Wesco and TJ Moore. Obviously, the only
Hmm.
issue is, the neck injury with Wesco, but I ended up having too many wide receivers. I kind of started off hot with the wide receivers, and then it was like, oh, really can't take that many more.
That's what I thought you were going to do when you said Ahmad Hardy. I thought you were going to take Jamal Roberts, and then you were going to double tap the Clemson wide receivers with your flex. But
Yep.
yeah,
Yeah, and I could have. I mean, I don't know. I gotta look where Roberts is in my ranks because I don't know that I have him that high. Oh, actually, all right, he's not that far off. Um, he's my RB 30 overall
yeah. I mean, that's
in
about right, I
Devy.
think.
Yeah,
Because
so I mean that's not amazing, but when you're considering it's the second running back on a team, that's not bad.
right.
But there is a duo that I really wanted to draft, but I could not draft two more running backs. Um, or what was it? I had to have I I had to have something.
You had
Uh,
to have at least one running back for your final pick
yeah.
and a
Oh no no
flex.
no, that's what it was. Okay, so I was gonna go with this running back duo, and then I thought about saving Hitter and Andrew Marsh as a better
Yeah.
duo that's gonna get better votes. That's what it was. But I really really wanted to go Isaac Brown and Keywan Brown out of Louisville, and I almost wish that I had just done that and I don't know, but once again, I'm happy with my team. We'll see what the votes do, but I tell you what, I don't think Keywan Brown. You're saying like Jamal Roberts doesn't get enough love and everything. I don't think Keywan Brown gets enough love. He should have probably transferred somewhere and been a starter for a team, and maybe he'll see the field more this year. Maybe whatever, but I wish didn't have a guy like Isaac Brown ahead of him. I really do. But I think like it's crazy. You don't think of Louisville and say, oh man, what a team. But I really love their running backs this year, and that's without even talking about Marquise Brown, who's also there. It's kind of crazy, like the running back room that they've accumulated over the past couple years.
Yeah. No, Isaac Brown's definitely a guy that I had written down. Um, the other guys that I was uh, that we didn't draft that I have on here, Waymon Jordan, and I would say either Tanook Hines or maybe even King Miller you could throw in with him.
Yep,
Um,
yep,
the
I like
other
that.
guy, let's see. Oh, if I wanted to really sneak CJ Carr in there, I could do like Aeneas Williams with him potentially, but that'd be like that's a too big of a dart throw, I think, with the running back.
Yeah, and
Um,
Aeneas Williams isn't going to get you the votes, and Carr's probably not going to get you the votes either.
yeah, I
Although
already talked
although I like
about.
that duo, I don't mind that duo at all.
No, I would.
I had Julian. Well, originally I had Julian Sane and Jeremiah Smith, on the list, but obviously you
Oh,
took Jeremiah Smith, and so then I pivoted and changed it to Julian Sayin and Chris Henry Jr. Because you'd already taken Bo Jackson as well. So
mhm.
I had so originally I had Julian Sayin and Jeremiah Smith and another list of Bo Jackson and Chris Henry Jr. And so then I just kind of marked out the other halves and combined Sayin and Chris Henry.
Yeah, saying would have been my next quarterback. I think that I would have taken. Um, and yeah, probably. I mean, just by default, you throw Chris Henry in there. Depending on how people feel about like Hollywood Smothers, maybe Ryan Wingo if you want to go for another group of Texas players. Um, and I think that's pretty much it for me that I like was considering in this draft. I'm sure that there's other ones out there. Um, but we already touched on why Bryce Underwood didn't get drafted. But he obviously could have gone with Marsh or JJ Buchanan if you could still consider him a tight end. So there were some options, but I think we covered most of like those top end duos.
Yeah, I think so. I can't really think of too many more. Uh, we came up with we came up with most of the ones that I'd even thought about. Obviously, I mean, there were some other pivots and stuff like that. If you really wanted to, I'm sure other people. We were talking about Jaden Baugh before, and I said I wasn't going to go off on a rant, so I won't do it tonight. But we are going to go off on a Jaden Baugh rant at some point in the very near future, people. Just so you know, be ready for it. Get him out of your top 12, get him out of your top 10, get him out of your top whatever, because he doesn't deserve to be there. But like I considered well, I consider putting on the list. I did not put on the list, but I considered putting on my list of duos, um, like Vernell Brown and Jaden Baugh. Once again, that would have been a pandering thing more than anything else. But I didn't even put him on the list when it was all said and done. I'm like, no, I can't be that guy. Like I'll pander a little bit, but I'm not pandering that much. So I decided against it, but I don't know. Maybe we can revisit this. Especially once Aaron is back, and we could do it again. It'd probably be pretty crazy if we had to do this with three people drafting. That'd be when it really gets difficult. Because I mean, like we had the two tight end duos. I was like, okay, I took one, so you didn't really
Yeah,
have to do anything. But you start adding a third player, and next thing you know, you're
right.
like, I don't know. I think I got to do this.
Yeah, this would go crazy with like four people.
Oh man,
Um,
maybe that's
yeah,
what we
then you're
should do.
starting to like draft Trinidad Chambliss and Kwan Lacey and stuff just to fill out your roster.
Right. I mean, like, yeah, we were already kind of, getting into some players that like people don't necessarily love, even if we do. Ian Strong, Donovan
Yeah,
Olakode, like that kind of thing. So like that's just with the two of us. So imagine what these teams would end up being. Be like Caleb Hawkins and Drew Mestamaker and
yeah,
stuff like that.
right. No, that'd be fun. I don't know. We'll have to think
Yeah,
about that, or maybe we'll do that next off season. Or like now that we've done this once, because this was fun. I had a good time.
yeah.
But yeah,
I
we'll
like
have
it.
to do
Maybe
it
we'll
do it again with
we'll
one.
see if we can't get like the Back to Debbie boys or something like that on and do a four-way with that. I think that'll be fun.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, well that's enough about that. No Jaden Ball rant yet, but it is coming. Obviously we miss Aaron. He will be back very soon. I don't remember what he was doing, but he was busy. So he'll be back very soon. We will be back very soon, but until we are back, or before we leave, I should say. Andy, why don't you give us some words of wisdom?
Um, Man, I don't want to talk about rookies. You almost railroaded me into doing that when you started talking about Fernando Mendoza this morning, or at the beginning of the episode. Um, I will say, if you're wise, you will vote for my team once we put this out as the winner of this draft, which I think I will win. I'm sorry to tell you, but I'm sure that you think that as well. It's just the way it goes. I played the game and I won.
Sir, I have Cam Coleman, Decorian Moore, and Malachi Tony. I don't think you could win if you added like five more players to your team. I really don't.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. I think they're gonna see Alec Bode and go, who? And then that'll be that.
Well, see, I'm the only one. I'm the one that makes the graphics, so I'm gonna make sure Oleg Voda is in like small font, like
Okay.
off to the side.
Right.
Kind of a forgotten man.
Just like an asterisk, like also on the team, Donovan Oladipo.
Yeah, it'll be on the back. It'll be on the back of the graphic. You have to click on it to flip it over. No.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, well, that's enough about that. Obviously, make sure you're liking, subscribing wherever you can, podcasts, forum, YouTube forum, all that kind of stuff. Make sure you are subscribed to the Gridiron Ratings YouTube channel so you can watch us live, interact with us, and do all that kind of cool stuff. And I think that is it. And we will be back in your ears very soon. But for now, we're going to go ahead and cash out. See you guys.